Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Welcome to Baseball Life's Future. Welcome to 2020. Welcome to Life Group Podcast, and welcome to Dong City, most importantly. I am your host, Vince Mercandetti, joined by co-host and Life Group founder, Henry Maldonado Jr. And we have special guests for this special kickoff, Felipe Melecio. He's joining us via car phone. Felipe, how are you?
Happy New Year, everybody. Good.
The 3Ms are here. Talk about the podcast, the kickoff. We're going to cover some baseball today. Obviously, it is a baseball podcast, including a summary of key moves to key contenders, what's left to accomplish this winter for playoff contenders in particular. We'll get to some sleeper playoff teams as well. But first, Henry, Felipe, how are we doing on this New Year's Day? How was your intro into 2020?
It was good. It was quiet. We spent it at home, watched some television in our PJs, and called it a night at about 12:05.
That's not bad. Felipe, how about you?
We were watching Westerns with my dad until he fell asleep, and then we switched it over to Casino by Martin Scorsese. We played Settlers of Catan, and then we counted on the year, and now we're in 2020.
There you go. Yeah, that's all you need. So we're going to get to the what and the who, so to speak, in a moment. Henry, let's talk about the why for these podcasts. Why now, and why in general start Life Group podcasts?
Well, I know Felipe has been working on podcasts for a while, and he and I have talked about connecting for one or two, and never worked out. But as our groups got more popular, and as we got to do the More Together campaign with Facebook, I just think all of our passion and all of our wit and intelligence about the game, the logical next step was podcasts. And it's a way to incorporate our group members to be more interactive with us. And we'll have group members on, we'll have, special guests here and there. And it's just an easy way to bring everyone together and be more interactive.
Felipe, perhaps unbeknownst to some watching, you've been an instrumental part of pushing these podcasts to launch in particular. Why are podcasts important as a complement to the groups themselves? And what are your visions or goals for the future with this new medium to the life groups?
Yeah, as Henry was, to piggyback on what Henry said, I think it's a great way to interact, especially through Facebook Live, to interact with our members. It's just another medium for them to talk to us, to communicate with us, to be part of our community that we've helped cultivate over the last few years. I feel that this was the logical next step. We had people ask, when is the Baseball Life podcast coming? When is our Pop Culture Life? When are these podcasts coming? Well, we're here. It's 2020 live and in color. So I feel like now would be a perfect time to just give the people what they want, which, that's what I'm all about anyway. So.
Yeah, perfect. And, we promised the what and the who. You just kind of touched on it. So what we're going to do to start it off here, we're going to do a quick overview of what to expect going forward as far as podcasts are concerned with this launch, who will be launching, and then we're going to jump into baseball and take the rest of the time to kind of talk about that. So we have Dong City, of course. That is what you are watching, listening to right now in its premiere. We will be back with our second episode, just as an FYI, in a couple of weeks, Tuesday, January 14th at 6:30 p.m. All times, by the way, that I mentioned are going to be Eastern time zone, so adjust accordingly. And all podcasts are scheduled bi-weekly, so we should be on about twice a month. We'll provide new schedules as they become available. Obviously, we can't plan too far out in front, but probably like every week or two before a podcast, you should have the official schedule. And it will be provided in Baseball Life if you do want to tune in. So those are kind of the ground rules. We continue on Monday with a show I'm very excited about, Above the Dugout, which will air 5:30 p.m. I will return to you, but this time be joined by co-host Matt Whelan. A lot of you will see him around Baseball Life as one of our West Coast admins. We will feature everyone's favorite food reviewer as a guest in that one, Johnny Gio Ortega. You can expect a little twist on baseball coverage on this show. It's more of a lighthearted approach to some of baseball's most pressing current events and topics from across the coast. So some great insight there on West Coast baseball. Will also be featured for all of you Angels, Dodgers, Giants, etc. fans out there. This one, Felipe's hot off the presses. A kind of announced last minute, but this is exclusive breaking news from Dong City. Felipe and Sean Connor Flannery will debut Total Bases. We think, Felipe, a special weekend edition, possibly this Saturday. No time has been officially set in stone. That'll be added to the schedule, though. That's the breaking news. Felipe, what can we expect when the show does debut? What type of show are we looking forward to?
Yeah, so this is something that I had started with Sean last spring, at the beginning of the season, and then it just got too much. You guys know my thing about post-production and all that, and I just wasn't into it anymore. But this is a great way to kind of pick up where we last left off. Sean actually is in the industry. He works for the Montgomery Biscuits as a data analyst of some sort. So the StatCast numbers that we all like to utilize and cite, he does the guts of the operation. So he's a great, perfect complement to what we're doing in terms of fantasy baseball, which we try to incorporate all phases, which is the StatCast, the advanced stats, and the most important thing of all, the mighty eye test. Well, Sean is a triple threat when it comes to that. So that's, and the whole goal is to not just talk about baseball and have fun with it, but also help everybody else out there win their fantasy championships in this upcoming baseball league season.
Perfect. Yeah. So you're going to make a lot of money for people in the group. That's what you're saying here.
Yeah. I'm not guaranteeing any money back, but we will take donations for sure. Why not?
I'd like to chime in. Felipe said Sean is a triple threat, which he is. The lone exception is when we're talking about Gleyber Torres. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Don't listen to his drafting advice on that. We don't have lifetime lawyers yet, though, so Felipe can't contractually agree to making you money, but definitely tune in for that for some fantasy knowledge. I, of course, left out that tomorrow is actually when we continue. I gave you the first 3 baseball podcasts. There are 4 in total. But tomorrow is a quick turnaround with Deep Third's football podcast. That's featuring Matt Bushnell, Randy Hammond, and Carl Arneth. That will be on at noon Eastern time tomorrow. We should, as an FYI for all of these podcasts, post them. We're going to give you a YouTube stream so you can watch them later, but try and tune in on your lunch break or if you're off tomorrow to listen to some football. That's going to be extra special, obviously, right before the playoffs. But those 3 avid football fans provide unique conversation about all things gridiron from NFL, CFB, XFL, and CFL. As a bonus, all 3 are disgruntled fans from 3 storied franchises and will provide insight and personal stories from football experiences ranging from heartbreak to triumph. So tune in tomorrow. Like I said, great time right before wildcard weekend. Jumping ahead to Tuesday, January 7th, another special day. That's at 7:30 p.m. We're going to kick off our first Pop Culture Life show with Felipe and Katie Roman called Basement Crawl. Felipe, what can we expect from that one?
Yeah, that's another one of those where we started out last spring and then the wheels came off, but we are back. Katie is a novelist. She writes fantasy novels of the medieval sorcery and knights of the round table kind of thing. She's really good at that type of stuff. And usually we end up talking about the same things, which is medieval stuff, Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And there's always a theme to every episode. One episode when we were talking about Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we decided to talk about fairy tales in general, Quentin's Hollywood fairy tale and then versus traditional fairy tales. So we try to have a theme to every episode to kind of make it stand out from every other show that's like that. So this upcoming one is going to be talking about the brutality of man, men worse than beasts. So I watched The Irishman. I'm going to touch upon that and talk about Frank Sheeran and how evil he was. She's going to talk about a show on Netflix called The Witcher. We're going to review Star Wars and talk about the evil doers in there, like Kylo Ren and Emperor Palpatine and all that. And like I said, I'm excited to relaunch. Katie's a really smart person when it comes to this literary stuff, so she's really good about dissecting characters and storylines and the like that.
Nice. Okay. So if you're keeping track at home, noon tomorrow for football. Saturday, 5:30 p.m. or I'm sorry, Monday, 5:30 p.m. Matt and I, and then Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Katie and Felipe. On Wednesday, January 8th, we're going to bring you to the lab and kick off Food, Health, Travel, Life. That's their only podcast. So if you are into any of those things, definitely tune in. It's Matt Whelan and Johnny Gio Ortega co-hosting. Their show is called The Lab, which is a Johnny frequently refers to his kitchen as the lab. So definitely tune into that. Thursday, January 9th, 7:30 p.m. So we're going to have a show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. 7:30 p.m. Brett Moore and Felipe kick off Wrestling Life with Pod Jobbers. Felipe, quick description there. What can we expect from that one? That's also the only Wrestling Life podcast so far.
Yeah, for now, I'm hoping that there's other ones that can come in to complement this one. But basically, Brett Moore will probably review some WWE NXT stuff, and I'll probably concentrate on the non-WWE stuff like All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling and the like. So yeah, I just got off the phone with Brett. He's excited. I'm excited. We'll try not to talk too much about Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart because that might cause a world war between the two of us. But yeah, two passionate guys who love wrestling, talking about wrestling.
I've been told that there will be some heated arguments on that, which cracks me up as someone who does not consistently watch wrestling, but I'm looking forward to it. So, so that's Pod Jobbers. Wednesday, 2 p.m., January 15th is our final premiere. That's going to be Rack of RBIs with Johnny returning for baseball, this time joined by co-host Jet Dry. They intend to bring you the latest in baseball from player trades to game scores. They'll keep you updated on the latest in the 2020 baseball season. And actually lied, the final premiere is Thursday, January 16th at 8 p.m. It's our second pop culture podcast, Plotcast for Dummies, featuring Jake Schwartz and Aaron Zook. And I kid you not, this is the exact description from them, so no one make it seem like I'm attacking them or anything. Witness cinema like never before through the lens of some idiots. So that's what you can expect from that show. Should be very entertaining. So there you go. 9 shows right off the bat to keep you entertained. Like I said, we will have Felipe and Sean's show posted as soon as it's scheduled for this weekend. 4 of these shows are baseball related. Obviously, we're in baseball life right now, so you can look forward to that. You're going to get 2 baseball podcasts a week, and we'll try to bring you at least 4 podcasts a week in total. Generally, Monday through Thursday. There may be some odd times here and there, but generally we're going to try Monday through Thursday every week. So very exciting. Thank you to all of our hosts who are listening, and in general in advance, and most importantly, thank you to our future listeners. We really hope you find a home with at least one of these shows. I know everyone's worked very hard to provide you with. Without further ado, this is a baseball show after all. Let's jump right into it with the most important news that can ever happen. Garrett Cole is a Yankee. So Henry, let's start with you, the other Yankee fan here. And Felipe, thank you for joining us. Is there anything else you wanted to add here before we let you go to your personal life?
I would like to chime in on that Garrett Cole thing with the Yankees, if you guys don't mind. But I want to listen to what Henry has to say. No, okay. I want to listen to what Henry says, so let him have it.
First thing I'll say, because Vince is the organizer, and I am not organized, so I'm going to throw Vince's schedule a little off. I just got this message from James Edwin Scott. A lot of you guys know him from Saber Scouts. And he's watching the podcast live, and he's stoked, and he's basically saying, guys, I want in. Anything you need help with, can be a guest. He actually graduated from broadcasting school, so this is the life group difference. We have people who want to come in, get their hands dirty, and just be one with us. So just like we said, we do this for you guys. Of that? Please go ahead.
Yeah, James and I did one episode together a long time ago. Unfortunately, it never made air because, post-production, mixing and all that. That dude is knowledgeable with a capital K-N-O-W. I'm telling you, man, that guy is not just about sitting in front of a computer and reading numbers. That guy is out there, and I believe last time I talked to him, he's in the industry kind of. He coaches. I believe it was Little League or middle-aged kids. I forgot which one, but he's like another one, like just fully knowledgeable about the game. And he's a good one to have along. So anything that he can do to help us, I'm all on board with that one.
Definitely.
Yeah, James and I actually go fairly far back on Facebook. He is also a Yankee fan, and we have gone back prior to baseball life and in some other groups. Very smart guy. And to Henry's point, if anyone is interested in potentially hosting one day, I can't guarantee obviously a spot or a schedule yet, but we do want to know that you are interested in hosting. It's, we can go over time commitments and how it works and everything like that. But if you have an interest in doing this sort of thing, definitely reach out to one of the admins in whatever group you're interested in, and we will at the very least discuss it and kind of formulate a plan. We're always looking for talent. This isn't something that anyone can just do. So if you have an interest in it, let us know. Very important.
We'll make it work.
Yeah, we will figure it out, because we want this to be an inclusive thing that just provides entertainment to the rest of the group. And there's nothing wrong if you don't want to do it. But going back, I have taken the liberty of growing Garrett Colt's beard for him. So he doesn't have to grow a beard anymore. I'm growing one instead. As you can see, I shaved a little too close today. But so that part's taken care of. He's also expecting a kid. I just found this out today in May. So congratulations to the Coles. That aside, he's also a Yankee. So Henry, back to your point. What do you have to say about all this?
That's the big news. So my background is Roberto Clemente. You all know I love Roberto Clemente. But for this segment, I'm going to do a little foreshadowing here. And I'm going to change my background, because this is what we will be doing at the end of the season right here. Garrett Cole, best pitcher in baseball, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. You have him, you have DeGrom. He's right there. Those guys are 1-1A. You're taking him off the Astros, who are probably the biggest threat in the AL, and you're putting him in front of our rotation. You're moving everyone back one spot. You're moving Sevy to the 2, Tanaka to the 3. There's not a lot of guys with Tanaka stuff, pitching in the 3 hole. So he's going to match up against other teams' 3. The Yankees are going to be forced to be reckoned with. And I think this is the year that we take it all, and we'll be the big bad guys that everyone loves to hate.
Felipe, we promised you with some parting shots before you go. So what do you have to add?
I don't know why people were hating on this. Like, that's a bad deal. It's like for 10 years. It's so stupid. You're getting 5 years of one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. Then the Pirates fans came in, chiming in. Well, he wasn't even that good with Pittsburgh. Well, Pittsburgh is a place where pitchers go to die. You saw what he could do with Houston. I don't know. I just don't understand the hate. I mean, I understand the hate. I just, you got to tip your hat and kind of wonder why your team isn't doing what the Yankees are able to do when a guy like Garrett Cole is available. I mean, it's time to just stop pointing fingers and just point the finger right at your own team, your own owners. Why aren't the Cubs going after Garrett Cole? Why aren't the White Sox aggressively pursuing Garrett Cole? So I love this deal. And I already told you guys before the show started, I think this is that I always pick the Yankees to win because they just look so good on paper, like around this time of year. This is it. This has to be it, right? That was the one thing that they were missing. They were missing an ace, and they just got one for the next 5 years. I mean, if I'm you guys, I'm just like dancing in the rain right now.
Oh,
yeah. And thank you, Felipe, and wish you the best of luck. We will see you again sometime this weekend for your next podcast. But thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, no problem. Henry, the feedback we're receiving, by the way, is that I think you just smoked like 17 packs of cigarettes between last time you were talking and the most recent one. So yeah, a little bit of audio issues there. But
let me get rid of these headphones and just go to my computer and see if that works any better.
Yeah, let's try that. So not just Henry and Felipe and I, definitely, by the way, we love the feedback that's being provided right now, as well as the comments. Just to finish up the Garrett Cole thoughts before we move on to some of the other moves, I think you hit the nail on the head.
I just want to see if
yeah, you're good now.
This sounds better.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good.
So, was that Apple's fault? It was
in this case, it was Sony's fault.
No, all right. Well, yeah, just as bad. So just to finish up the Garrett Cole thought, from my standpoint, you hit the nail on the head. It's a huge signing, not just because he was arguably the best pitcher, definitely in the American League. I would have given him the Cy Young personally. And we saw a little bit of chinks in the armor with Justin Verlander in the playoffs there as age. We don't know if it's age or just overall whatever, but we saw a little bit of weakness there. But the key thing for me is that he joins the Yankees, who won 103 games and came within a run and a game of the World Series essentially last year, and he leaves the Astros, who are just about having the worst possible winter you can ever have. I mean, between this whole scandal of stealing signals and losing Cole, they now are relying on two guys in their mid to late 30s to head that rotation. And for me, Zach Greinke is very reliable, but he's probably more of a 3 in the AL, at least amongst the contenders. So they're hurting. They lost their catcher as well. They're hurting a little bit. Yankees had catastrophic injuries, lost or 103 games. Now they added Garrett Cole. It's a huge signing. Whether it's huge in 2027, we have no idea. I don't think anyone's going to tell you that Cole was expected to sign for $324 million over 9 years. I think that kind of surprised everyone. But to Felipe's point, Yankees are in a World Series window. This is their apex, I think, of the World Series window. I don't know if we can see a better team than you're about to see in 2020 in terms of talent and depth. And I mean, when criticism are things like Domingo Germán's the fifth starter, so they might not have depth, like that's a joke. I mean, he was the best pitcher for 5 months on the team that won over 100 games last year. Now he's
Jordan Montgomery is not Andy Pettit.
Yeah, I mean, the guy will probably be in the bullpen for the playoffs. Like that's going to be traumatizing for a lot of teams, I think.
Yeah, the rotation is super deep. I mean, it's like I said, just him at the front just pushes everyone back, and you have a guy like Montgomery or Germán who are going to be the five. I mean, those are some guys' threes.
Right. Yeah. So Yankees well set up. That's why I would have that the most influential signing of the winter. Maybe not in terms of WAR, but definitely in terms of taking a team like the Yankees, who were right on the cusp last year, and then adding that is the most influential move. The biggest move, at least according to this ESPN list we're going to use, is Anthony Rendon to the Angels in terms of actual. I think they're going based on probably WAR. Rendon, as we know, World Series hero, playoff hero last year, Nationals first championship. The reason I wouldn't put it above Cole, quite frankly, is because he's leaving the Nationals and joining the Angels, who were not a playoff team, weren't particularly close to a playoff team, but certainly a nice, impactful move for the Angels. What do you think of that move, signing Rendon if you're the Angels to pair with Trout?
I mean, I love that move. You have probably one of the most underrated players in the last 10 years, and you're pairing him with the greatest player in the last 10 years. The Angels scare me. They haven't done anything for that rotation. They have a lot of 1 year, low risk, high ceiling guys, and I don't know if you can win that way.
Aaron would be their pitching additions.
That's not scary. I mean, they did go hard after Cole, and I think the final numbers were somewhere about 310, 312. I mean, that's a legitimate offer. They went hard. They just they didn't land them. This is very reminiscent of last offseason where they kind of whiffed on every major free agent they went after. But, give them credit. They gave Rendon the checkbook, and I'm glad to see him get paid. He deserves it.
Yeah, for sure.
They need to make more moves. They need to shore up that rotation somehow. I keep saying J-Happ to the Angels just makes too much sense. So
I think they can benefit from probably a veteran who is not going to miss starts. You can say what you want about Happ. I think last year, as a Yankee fan, I'm going to go ahead and blame Larry Rothschild more than anything else. He tried to tinker with like a 36-year-old who's been pitching in the majors for a decade. It just didn't make sense. Happ was clearly uncomfortable most of the year, and he finished the season well. I think he would be – I'm not just saying that because I want to dump his salary, which I do, but he could be influential as a veteran pitcher to a lot of different rotations, and I agree. I think the Angels are one of those teams that can use an arm like that and a mentor like that to their other young pitching, especially with a guy like Bundy now who knows what his ceiling is. I don't think we saw it on the Orioles. Another big signing, this one kind of boring. It was Steven Strasburg. He's staying with the Nationals, so they should be there. I don't know what to make of the Nationals. Like they won the World Series, obviously, huge kudos, but they weren't like a juggernaut force that you're like, oh my God, they're going to do the exact same thing. And now they lost Rendon. So where do you have the Nationals with the Strasburg signing and everything else?
I think it depends on what they do at third base. How they plug that hole is important. Do they go out and get Donaldson? I'm hearing Donaldson's getting 4-year offers, which is surprising. But if you can plug that hole with a guy like Donaldson, I'd see them right back there. I mean, they have pitching for days. That rotation, what we saw at the end of the season, is what we expected the whole season. Those guys are nasty. They can pitch with anybody. So,
yeah, I mean, Donaldson.
I think they'll be right there. I think they'll be right there depending on what they do at third base.
Donaldson could provide a lot of dongs to fill those holes. So, I mean, that would be a big signing for them to replace Rendon for sure.
Even if they overextend and they give them 4 or 5 years. I mean, their window is right now. If they can get another ring out of it, you got to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
they already took the market from Baltimore. Let's be real. They took that market. They won a ring. They have the fans. They're bringing guys to the stadium. So they got to make the move. They got to show up third base for sure.
Now, a team in their own division, this is considered the fourth biggest signing. We all thought it was an overpay when it happened, and then we sort of saw what Strasburg and Cole signed for, but Zach Wheeler to the Phillies. They needed pitching. Can't argue that they're filling a hole here. Didi Gregorius also to the Phillies. So they have signed 2, and he's ranked 6th. So they signed 2 of the top 10 free agents this year. Where are the Phillies at this point? For me, I still wouldn't put them above the Braves. And I maybe wouldn't put them above the Nationals, but they obviously have improved. So, what do you think of the Phillies right now?
It wouldn't put them above the Nationals. I think the Nationals are a team to beat still. But just like the Nationals, what are the Braves going to do for third base? Donaldson gave them a lot of pop. He gave them a lot of protection. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the Braves. Yeah, you asked about the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
Wheeler, I like Wheeler. I'm not in love with him. I think they paid what they think he could turn out to. I think it was a huge overpay. I think the Didi signing was a smart one. I'm not in love with the Wheeler signing, but like you said, you see what Cole got, what Strauss got. These guys are getting paid. So now's the time to be a free agent starting pitcher.
Yeah, and we have a lot of comments coming through Facebook Live stating that the Phillies need pitching both in the bullpen and rotation still, and I completely agree. I think those are good points by James and
I think I'd roll the dice with the Mets over the Phillies right now, honestly. The Mets have better pitching.
So, and let's talk about the Mets. No, I'm going to get in trouble for this. No one marquee in terms of the free agent signings, but they have added Rick Porcello, who would be ranked kind of probably in like that third or fourth tier of free agent signings. They've added Dellin Betances, which we feel a certain way about Dellin. This is what I'll say about the Mets, and then I'll let you add your input as well. I love the Porcello signing. I'll start off with that. I think it's a no-brainer. The guy is as durable as they come. He's moving from Fenway in the AL East to the NL East. His numbers are going to naturally improve going from Fenway to Citi Field. He's, like I said, very durable. He's kind of a nice, stable force to the rotation. No problems with that. Not a huge commitment. Fine. Betances' ceiling is a great move for the Mets, right? I mean, that's a natural bridge to Diaz, assuming Diaz has a bounce-back season, which I think he will. Mets have been looking for a 1-2 punch like that at the end of their bullpen forever. And they got him to a very affordable deal that I think a lot of teams could do. I think for the people who throw things out like Cole in years 7, 8, and 9 could be a disaster.
I'm not worried about that.
Wheeler is paid, $3 million too much. $3 million a year too much. For those type of people who are really concerned about that type of stuff, and to some degree, like the Cubs, I think you should be, because they're obviously not paying guys because they're right up against it. Same with the Red Sox. But when it comes to the Mets with Betances, all I'm going to say is this. Betances is a great on paper addition, but if you're worried about risk, he is in his 30s now. He is 6'8", and he's coming off a major injury that dealt with, his lower body. So the only thing I'm going to say, yeah, I know you don't want to hear it, but the floor for Betances is legitimate. Now, I know the payroll concern's not big, but if you're talking about the Mets in the context of competing, being a playoff team and stuff like that, there's risk with this Betances signing. I have no problem with it. I wanted Betances back to the Yankees, but I wanted him knowing that we have 4 other late inning relievers with who can pitch in that spot. Good move for the Mets. I'm not going to argue that it's a bad move. I just think if you're worried about risk, there's some risk there.
No, I think the Mets, they made 2 smart moves in one, which is, I think, letting Wheeler go and replacing him with Porcello is a smart move. I'll go out on a limb and say that Porcello will have a better year than Wheeler, especially Wheeler playing in Philly. I think Porcello will excel.
That's ballsy. I like
signing,
it.
Yeah, I wasn't too crazy about the Walker signing. I get it. You sign a guy and you hope it works out. I love the Betances signing. I know you're not big on it. I loved it. I wanted him back with the Yankees. It made too much sense for him to come back with the Yankees. Now you hear this hater talk, which I hate. because you have to give up talent to get Hader. I'd much rather have Betances. Betances' ceiling is like no other relief pitcher in baseball.
Other thing I should add is Betances' innings the last 3 years have been
and he's had a whole year off.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
Arm and shoulders, had a whole year off to rehab. When with the game on the line, that 12-6 curve, it's nasty. And I think having a guy like that Diaz has otherworldly talent as well. I don't expect him to have a season like he did last year. Diaz is going to come out guns blazing. And he has a guy like Betances to help him out and protect him and maybe get some of the higher leverage outs before Diaz has to get them. Because what we saw last year was a lot of Diaz coming in to extinguish a lot of fires, being brought back in for a second inning and then just getting shelled. I think you'll see Betances take a lot of the fireman situations. And if I'm the Mets, I probably don't make Diaz my closer. I probably just alternate between the two of them, honestly, depending on the situation.
And that signing also moves a guy like Seth Lugo like further into middle relief, which I like. I think Seth Lugo's nasty. I don't know.
Lugo is missing out because I think he can be a starter. I think he's just never had an opportunity. I think he has starter stuff.
Yeah, every time that dude faces the Yankees, I feel like it's like 2 innings, like 2 perfect innings. He strikes out like 4 or 5 guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just against us or what.
Yeah, he's got a ton of talent, and they got to roll the dice, man. Let that kid try and start. See what he has, because I think he has something there. But he proved very valuable for them last year in the bullpen. So we'll see what they'll do. But they do need to shore up third base, and they definitely need to shore up center field. I feel like we've been saying they need a center fielder for God knows how long now.
Yeah, Phillies Mets, that's a good – so another thing here that we're going to announce is that we do have Rob Martinez as a stat guy, if you will. He won't be on every show. I'm sure he'll make some guest appearances, but he is our kind of stat keeper that we're keeping for these podcasts. I'm going to ask you, Henry, if formally you want to submit Rick Porcello has a better season than Zach Wheeler at the end of the year.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to dial that up to Rob. What Rob's purpose is in all of this, because I feel like whenever you listen to radio or podcast, people make all sorts of outlandish predictions, and they never get held accountable, or they never get their credit, depending on if they're right. So we're gonna run these predictions up the flagpole to Rob, have him keep track of it, and as the year goes on, we'll come back to them and see how we're doing.
Me in these groups, it's been 3 years. I'm not afraid to make a prediction. I'm wrong, I'm right. That's the part of that's all fun of it.
Yeah.
I said from jump last year Boston would be bad, and I got killed for it. I got killed. Yankee fans killed. I told you. I said every hole that they had came to fruition, and they ended the same way I predicted. I've had some bad predictions. But I'm not.
Where the season started, the Red Sox would not make the playoffs.
Right. I said Tampa Bay would.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. So
and it's just that thing. Not a lot of people will go on a limb and say, "Hey, I think this will happen." I'll do that. That's what I feel. I look at what I see. I look things up. I think Porcello in that park will have a better season than Wheeler.
And going back to not going out on a limb and being kind of like a useless sack of shit, the Twins having a winter that is very Twins-like for me. If anyone's talked to me about the Twins before, it's not that I don't like them. It's that I think they're like just the wussiest team
I agree.
possible. And the Yankees just routinely beat the shit out of them every time they play. And the Twins are having a very Twins winter by my standards, in that they have signed Michael Pineda back, and they've signed Jake Odorizzi back, and they've done nothing else. I know they're in the Donaldson sweepstakes. This is one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it. I think that these mid-ish market teams love like being like, hey, we're in on this guy. Then he signs for like $30 million more than they were offering. And they're like, oh shit, like, money is tight. So anyway, Twins won 100 games last year. Let's ignore that.
They're not winning 100 games next year.
Yeah. Indians could be worse, especially if they trade Lindor and Clevenger. They will be worse.
Yeah. I don't.
What are they doing?
The Twins aren't going to win 100 games. I think they will compete. I do think, and we're going back to Donaldson. Was this the third team we said could benefit from Donaldson?
Mm-hmm.
If you put Donaldson at third base, that lengthens that lineup, and you move Sano to first base. Sano will be a good first baseman. Donaldson can still play third base with the best of them. So, I think that's a good move to help their lineup. But like you said, they rarely go for it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I had, and this was commented in the comment section just now, again by Jonathan Santiago. I thought the Twins and Reds should have gone after Wheeler. I thought those
Say it
were
again?
two. I said I thought the Twins and Reds should have gone after Wheeler harder. I thought Wheeler would have been
I think the Reds should have. The Reds need
yeah.
pitching too.
And speaking of the Reds, now I got the red hat because I'm a Yankee fan first, but the Reds are now my NL team after seeing that stadium and all the crazy stuff that happens there.
Time out before you continue.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray having the year he had, I also predicted.
Oh, I think every Yankee fan on earth predicted. We knew he was going to have a huge year elsewhere.
We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and Hap will too, for the record.
I don't mean to derail what you're doing, but a team that makes sense for Hap might be the Phillies too.
Yeah, he's going to have a market. I think if you don't think
he's where he started, it's
he's $17 million a year, $17 million for 1 year, and if he sucks, you can just take him out of the rotation and he won't vest. So It's either a 117 or it's 2 years, and he had a good season for you. So
you can put him in the pen.
There's definitely a market there. Now, the Reds, speaking of them, interesting team. This is kind of getting more into the sleeper portion. I wouldn't think anyone's going to say the Reds are a World Series contender. I do think they could be a playoff contender. They have made a couple of interesting moves. They obviously have Freddie Galvis, but they signed Wade Miley to the rotation. They signed Mike Moustakas, probably their biggest move of the offseason. Where do you have – because the NL Central's interesting this year, I think. Where do you have the Reds as far as, they definitely need relievers. I think they can use another bat, but as of right now, what do you think of the Reds?
I like the Reds. I'm very bullish on them. I don't want to be, because what I want is I want them to suck, and I want them to trade what I consider the most underrated player in the game to the Yankees in Castillo, but it's not going to happen. But I do I see the Reds as having a very good season. I see them in the playoffs. This is Sonny Gray's last season, right?
He signed an extension, I think.
With them, I gotta look.
He's
but
supposed
I
to be a free agent now. I think he signed like a 3-year deal, so he may have another year after this.
If I had to pick now, I'd probably pick them to finish right behind the Cardinals. Maybe push the Cardinals for first place. But the Reds are going to have a good season.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind about the Reds, if you go to their 2019 season, I know someone like James Edwin Scott has done this already. You go to their 2019 season, you look at the first 10 games, and then you look at the last 150. Look at the run differential and look at the record. That was a 500 team masquerading as a 90-loss team with a positive run differential. And that was before they added Moustakas and Miley and everyone else.
I was just trying to look it up. Didn't they just sign the
the Asian importer
from Japan, right?
Yes, they did. I don't know. I know a lot about the other guy.
Yeah, he profiles as a plus defender in center field and a really good contact bat. So
yeah, I think he's a defensive first guy, which in Cincinnati that's useful. They don't have great defense, and they lost Peraza and Iglesias. But good segue. My dog's name is Yoshi, and then the other Japanese guy I know is named Yoshi, who went to the Blue Jays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So along with Ryu. So anyway, I mean, Reds are going to be an interesting team to watch. NL Central's going to be interesting. I don't know where the Cubs are at. I don't see them doing anything again, and that may drop them even further.
I don't think the Cubs make the playoffs right now.
I don't. Yeah, I agree with you.
Make some trades and make some upgrades to that team. I don't see the Cubs making the playoffs right now.
I completely agree. One last team, and I know they've got a pretty good fan base in baseball life, which really melts my heart, especially talking about the Cubs here. The White Sox. I don't consider them a sleeper this year. I think in 2021 they can definitely be a force if some things go right. But they've had a probably the biggest offseason in terms of volume of moves out of any team. We'll just go over them real quick, and then we'll get your thoughts on it. Yasmani Grandal, definitely the best catcher on the market, signed by the White Sox. They also signed Edwin Encarnacion for a 1-year deal, which until he went blind was a pretty good pickup by the Yankees. And then they've also signed Dallas Keuchel. They brought Jose Abreu back. They signed Gio Gonzalez. So these are all like third-ish, fourth-ish tier moves, but they add up. So what do you think of the White Sox right now?
Here's the thing. Last year, the White Sox scored 708 runs. The White Sox are going to score about 1,000 runs this year. Probably going to give up about 1,100.
Right. Yeah. They're one of those teams for sure.
Yeah. They had a minus 124 run differential. Until that changes, I don't care how much you score. If you don't pitch, you don't win.
Well, what do you think of their pitching moves with Keuchel and Gio Gonzalez is like dog shit to me at this point, but Keuchel is a legitimate.
Gio goes on a run every year of like 1 or 2 months, and you're like, oh, maybe he's not done yet, and then his age shows. I like Keuchel there. Gio, I mean, they have to pitch. They're going to hit. They're going to be right up there with the Twins and with the Yankees and the Astros in terms of slugging. They're going to be there.
Offense is legit for sure.
And, they're going to hit.
You get Aloy, and then you probably get a couple of those prospects coming up too. So the offense, I don't think anyone can argue is.
They're going to slug.
Potential. Yeah.
They're going to slug with the best of them. It's just a matter of can they pitch.
Now, if only there was a veteran pitcher in the trade market who could go there for like 1 or 2 years to bridge that gap to guys like Kopech and their kind of front end arms. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who would be a good fit for the White Sox, but
I think so. Typically, Brian Cashman, when he has to make a move, he kind of operates from a non-favorable position because the Yankees get the most press. The holes are glaring. When we have a need for a pitcher, they know the market. People are going to rape us. When Garrett Cole was available via trade, look what they were asking versus what they actually got. They being the Pittsburgh Pirates. Come on, people ask for ransom when it comes to the Yankees. I think in this situation, with what everyone is paying for starting pitching, they'll look at Happ. They'll look at what he can give you and say, 1 year, $17 million. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And I think Happ will bring back something very favorable. It won't just be a salary dump. He'll bring something of value in return. But I think there's going to be a market of 3 or 4 teams that are going to be calling Cashman and say, hey, what do you want for Happ?
And it's funny because in the beginning of the winter, it was like Yankees will have to eat half his salary. But I agree. I never felt that way, but I agree with you now. I think it's a foregone conclusion if they wanted to. Someone's taking his entire salary, and it could be similar to the Gray deal, and like maybe they have the equivalent of a draft pick back or a prospect like that. I don't know if I'd expect anything marquee coming back, but I definitely do think some team is going to cover his entire salary.
Yeah. And I think they'll give up a legit prospect or something that we could use, maybe a high-end reliever that is controllable. Because we're going to have guys that are leaving the pen soon too. So we've got to replace guys. But Happ is going to bring value back. It's not just a salary dump.
Yeah, for sure. White Sox could be one of those teams. But, White Sox, watch that team this year. Vaughn Madrigal, Luis Robert, I think is probably the biggest name. They've got could be a lot like the 2017 Yankees where all of a sudden like the floodgates start opening and these guys are graduating to the majors. Now I'm not at all, Rob, don't write this down. I'm not at all saying that the White Sox are going to win 90 games and almost win the pennant, but I am saying that offense is going to be fun to watch this season. So good. So, I mean, that pretty much covers it. So, I think Reds, White Sox, those are going to be kind of up and coming teams. Nice to watch. Yankees, obviously legitimate contenders, Braves, legitimate contenders, Nationals, legitimate contenders, all made. Well, Braves haven't really, but all have made some moves.
The Braves, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They got to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Or else Pedro Rio is going to be on just a bad mood for so long. And
he's going to get trolled by the Met fans.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
For everyone who has been following along and commenting in the comment section, we thank you a million times. We have over 100 comments, which is pretty amazing for a debut show. Thank you so much. Obviously, we can't get to all of them throughout the entirety of the show, but we will be in the comment section kind of addressing some of this stuff. And hopefully, at some point on one of these shows, we will get to it. But thank you to everyone who listened. We will be back, like I said, in 2 weeks on the Tuesday, and the schedules will be posted in Baseball Life. Look forward to the podcast for football tomorrow at noon. That will be their debut. NFL previews. And before we get out here, Henry, we have wildcard weekend. It doesn't affect you as a Niners fan. It definitely doesn't affect me as a Giants fan. But let's make some predictions here real quick. AFC, NFC, who do you have as the winners?
I have Tennessee winning. I know a lot of people think I'm nuts, but I think Tennessee is going to start the decline for the Patriots. I know we're waiting for it every year. We're waiting for the Patriots decline. I think this is it. I think Tennessee advances. Trying to remember the matchups off the top of my head. Give me a second.
Yeah, Texans, Bills.
I like the Bills there. I think the Bills, they're doing something special with that defense. I'll take the Bills there.
You've got Seahawks, Eagles in Philly.
That's going to be an entertaining game.
I agree.
I think Philly will do better than we think, but I think the Seahawks pull it out in the last minute.
Okay, and then you got Saints, Vikings in New Orleans.
I'm giving the Vikings no chance in that game. I think they're going to get smoked. And when we do our next show, I'll probably be wrong, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind going to having Minnesota come to us.
Oh yeah, for sure. So,
I think they have no shot. I think the Saints at home are going to smoke them.
So you have Saints, Seahawks, Bills, and Titans. Okay, I'm going to go Bills, Patriots. I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl. I do think their demise is coming. I just don't think it's against Ryan Tannehill in New England. I am going to, I've been struggling with this all week. There has to be an upset wildcard weekend. I'm going to go with the Eagles. It's been my gut feeling since like week 11 that the NFC East is going to win a playoff game because no one thinks they will.
That's a good matchup. Those two teams match up pretty well. They match up well. That's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think I definitely at least agree with you. It's going to be closer than people think. And then my survivor pick is actually going to be the Saints because I'm with you. I think that's the biggest gimme of the week. So we'll see how it goes. More on that tomorrow with the football podcast. This has been Dong City. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all of the comments. And have a great rest of your day. You can see it,
but it says Dong City, bitch. Have a good one, guys.